It was a quiet afternoon in a poor village far from the city. The sun was hidden behind dark clouds, and the wind moved slowly through the trees. Dust covered the narrow streets. Most people stayed inside their small broken homes. But outside, the old graveyard, one small boy sat alone. His name was Samir, only 9 years old. His clothes were torn and his eyes were red from crying. Every day he came to this one grave and sat next to it for hours. He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He just stared at the ground and whispered. Some villagers passed by and looked at him from a distance. "That's the poor boy whose mother died," one woman said softly. "Yes," an old man nodded. "She passed 2 days ago. Heart attack, they say." "Then why is the boy still sitting there like that?" The woman shook her head. "He says she's still alive." They all sighed and walked away, thinking the boy had lost his mind. Nobody believed him, not even the doctor who signed the death report. "He's in shock," they said. "It happens after losing someone close." But Samir was sure of what he felt. He sat by the fresh grave and whispered, "Mama, I heard. You called me. I'm here. I'm still here." The grave was covered in flowers, now dry and wilted. His small hands clutched the mud. He pressed his ear to the soil, trying to hear again. "Mama," he whispered again. Just then, a shiny, black car drove past the village road. It was the kind of car no one in the village had ever owned. Expensive, big, clean. Inside the car sat a well-dressed man in his 40s, with dark glasses and a sharp face. His name was Mr. Zayan, a rich businessman known in many cities. He had come to this village to check on a land project. He wasn't used to seeing poor streets or broken homes, but as his car slowed down near the graveyard, something caught his attention. He saw a small boy sitting by a grave, crying like his world had ended. "Stop the car," Mr. Zayan said to his driver. The driver stopped. Mr. Zayan stepped out, adjusted his coat, and looked at the boy from a distance. There was something strange, something that made him pause. He walked closer. Samir didn't even look up. He just kept whispering. "Something. Are you okay, son?" Mr. Zayan asked gently. Samir looked up. His face was dirty, but his eyes were full of pain. "She's in there, but she's not dead." Mr. Zayan was confused. "What do you mean?" "My mama. She's alive. She called my name last night. I heard her." Mr. Zayan looked around. No one else was near, only silence and graves. "Your mother was buried here?" Samir nodded. 2 days ago. The doctor said she died, but I know she didn't. I heard her voice. I heard her calling me from the ground." Mr. Zayan stood still. His heart beat a little faster. "Did you tell anyone?" he asked. "Yes," Samir said. "But no one believes me. They say I'm crazy." The boy wiped his face. "But I'm not lying, sir, I swear. Please, can you help me?" Mr. Zayan looked at the grave. Something about the boy's voice felt too real, too honest. It was not just sadness. It was something deeper, a kind of pain that couldn't be faked. He looked at the grave again, then at the boy. He had everything, money, cars, power, but he had never seen such pure desperation. And suddenly, a strange thought entered his mind. What if the boy is telling the truth? Mr. Zayan stood silently beside the boy, staring. The grave. He was a man of business. He believed in facts, not feelings. But something about Samir's words had touched a place in his heart that he didn't even know still existed. "Son," he said slowly, "why do you think your mother is still alive?" Samir looked up with teary eyes. "Because last night, I slept beside her grave and I heard her whisper. She called my name. I know her voice, sir. She said, 'Samir, help me.'" Mr. Zayan's chest felt heavy. He glanced at the grave again. Fresh mud, no cracks, no signs of anything strange. Still, the boy's voice shook with truth. "But how is that possible?" Mr. Zayan asked gently. "I don't know," Samir whispered. "But when she fell, she wasn't breathing. They said she died. But I remember. She moved her hand when they were taking her." Samir's voice broke. "No one listened. They just buried her fast. Mr. Zayan felt his throat tighten. He had lost his own mother when he was just a teenager. Seeing Samir cry reopened an old pain. He turned to his assistant who stood nearby, confused. "Do we know the name of the woman who died here 2 days ago?" he asked. The assistant quickly checked his tablet. "Yes, sir. Her name was Nazia Bibi. Poor woman. Worked as a housemaid in the nearby town." Samir nodded. "That's my mama." Mr. Zayan paused. His heart said something his brain didn't want to accept. What if there had been a mistake? What if she had been buried alive? He looked at the boy again. "Samir, do you trust me?" Samir nodded slowly. Mr. Zayan stood up. "Then I'll do something no one else would do." Samir's eyes widened. "You believe me?" "I don't know yet," Mr. Zayan replied honestly. "But I'll find out. You deserve the truth." Samir smiled for the first time in days. A small, weak smile, but full of hope. Just then, a voice called from the road. It was the village elder. "Hey, what's going on here?" the old man shouted, walking towards them. Mr. Zayan turned. "I'm investigating something." The elder frowned. "That boy is just sad and confused. His mother died. Let her rest in peace." Mr. Zayan stepped forward. "And what if she didn't die?" The elder looked shocked. "Are you saying she's alive in that grave? That's nonsense." "Sometimes," Mr. Zayan said calmly, "nonsense is just truth waiting to be proved." The elder scoffed and walked away, shaking his head. Mr. Zayan looked at his assistant. "Call for help. I want permission to open this grave. I'll pay for everything." The assistant nodded, still surprised. As the sun began to set, the village turned quiet again. Samir sat beside the grave, holding Mr. Zayan's hand. For the first time since his mother was buried, he didn't feel alone. And deep under the soil, in the darkness, something moved. The next morning came slowly. Samir had not slept all night. He sat beside his mother's grave, staring at the soil with tired, swollen eyes. His tiny fingers were holding a picture of her, smiling, happy, alive. Mr. Zayan returned just after sunrise. But he wasn't alone. Behind him were 2 lawyers, a medical officer, and a small team of workers with shovels and gloves. Samir stood up, hope filling his chest. "Are you really going to dig, sir?" he asked softly. Mr. Zayan nodded. "Yes, but we have to follow the rules. We have permission now. This is not just for you, Samir, it's also for the truth." Samir hugged him tightly. "Thank you." The villagers started to gather around. Some whispered, some laughed. "What madness is this? They are digging up a grave? The boy's gone crazy." No rich man should interfere with the dead. But Mr. Zayan ignored them all. He gave a single nod, and the workers began to dig. The sound of shovels hitting the dirt echoed through the village. Everyone was silent, watching. Samir stood near the edge, his tiny hands shaking. After an hour, the shovel hit something hard. Thunk, the wooden coffin. Everyone froze. Samir's heart pounded so loud it felt like a drum inside his chest. The workers carefully cleared the dirt around the coffin. The medical officer stepped forward and opened it slowly. As the lid creaked open, Samir shut his eyes tight. Then, silence. No one said a word. Mr. Zayan stepped closer. His eyes widened. Inside the coffin lay a woman. It was Nazia Bibi. Her face was pale, but peaceful. She wasn't moving. She looked asleep. Samir's voice broke the silence. "Mama." The medical officer leaned in, checking for signs of life. He placed 2 fingers on her neck, then used a mirror in front of her mouth. Everyone held their breath. 1 second, 2. Then, "She's alive," the doctor whispered. Gasps. "What? No way! She's breathing." "Barely," the doctor said again. "She's in a deep coma, but she's not dead." The villagers couldn't believe it. Some women started crying. The elder who had mocked Samir earlier fell to his knees in shock. Samir rushed forward and held her hand. "Mama, I told them you were alive." Her fingers twitched. Samir cried louder, overwhelmed with joy. Mr. Zayan placed a hand on his shoulder, both stunned and relieved. The doctor looked serious. She needs urgent care. If she had stayed here one more day, she would have died. For real, Mr. Zayan turned to his team. Bring the car. We're taking her to the best hospital in the city, now. Samir nodded, wiping his tears. You saved her, sir. You believed me when no one did. Mr. Zayan smiled. No, Samir. You saved her. You never gave up. As the sun rose higher, the grave that once held sorrow now gave birth to hope. But what no one knew was that someone in the village had rushed the burial on purpose, and Mr. Zayan was about to uncover a dark secret behind why Samir's mother was almost buried alive. The ambulance raced toward the city hospital. Samir sat beside his mother, holding her hand tightly. Monitors beeped softly. Her chest moved, slow but steady. For the first time in days, Samir felt a little safe. Mr. Zayan sat beside him, thoughtful. His mind was racing with questions. How could a living woman be buried? Why did the villagers say she was dead? And who signed the papers declaring her death? Back in the village, chaos had started. News spread like wildfire. The boy was right, his mother was alive. Some people were shocked. Others were scared. But one man was angry. His name was Shafiq, a greedy man who worked at the village clinic. He had declared Nazia Bibi dead. He had signed the papers. And now he knew. He was in trouble. He walked into his small house, slamming the door behind him. How did that boy ruin everything? He muttered. She wasn't supposed to wake up. He pulled out a brown envelope from a drawer. Inside were property papers. Not his, but Nazia's. You see, Nazia owned a small piece of land. It wasn't big, but a new road was going to be built through it. The government would pay a high price. Shafiq wanted that land, but Nazia refused to sell. So when she fainted from high fever, he saw an opportunity. She's gone, he told the family. We'll bury her by sunset. No doctor, no real check, just lies. Back at the hospital, doctors ran tests. She was in a coma, the city doctor confirmed. Her pulse was faint. Anyone not careful could have mistaken her for dead. Samir looked at Mr. Zayan. Sir, why did no one check properly? Why didn't anyone call for help? Mr. Zayan's jaw tightened. Because someone didn't want your mother to live. Samir's eyes widened. The billionaire stood up. I'm going back to the village. There's something very wrong there, Samir whispered. Be careful, sir. Mr. Zayan gave a gentle smile. Don't worry, I'll find the truth. Back in the village, Shafiq was burning papers. He knew the billionaire would return, and when he did, Shafiq would be ready. But what he didn't know was Mr. Zayan wasn't coming alone. He had already called the police. The next morning, the village was not the same. Whispers moved from house to house. Mr. Zayan is coming back. They say the boy's mother is alive. Someone will be punished. But one house stayed silent. Inside, Shafiq was pacing like a trapped animal. He had burned the fake documents. He had hidden the land papers. But fear was growing inside him. What if they already know? He said to himself. What if she... Tux? He heard a sound outside. Cars. More than one. He peeked through the curtain and his face went pale. Mr. Zayan had returned, and this time he wasn't alone. 2 city police officers stepped out of the car. One was holding a file. The other had handcuffs clipped to his belt. Behind them, villagers started gathering again. Shafiq stepped outside, forcing a smile. Sir, what brings you back? Zayan didn't smile. His eyes were sharp. We spoke to the hospital. Shafiq's smile faded. They said your clinic declared a woman dead without proper tests. Is that true? Shafiq stammered. She wasn't breathing, and there was no equipment, sir. We did what we could. Zayan handed a document. To the police. This is a report from city doctors. She was alive. She was in a coma. Gasps spread among the villagers. Why didn't you call a proper doctor? One woman asked. Why rush the burial? Said another. Shafiq's face turned red. It was a mistake. Zayan stepped closer. Or maybe it was greed. You wanted her land. You knew the government was buying it for high price. Shafiq's eyes widened. The crowd stared at him. Someone whispered, "Is that true?" The police officer took a step forward. "Where are the land documents?" Shafiq tried to run, but two villagers grabbed him. The officer put him in handcuffs. "You are under arrest for forgery, attempted murder, and illegal land grabbing." As he was taken away, Shafiq screamed, "That boy ruined everything." Zayan looked at the villagers. "You didn't believe Samir. You thought he was mad. But he saved his mother." Some villagers lowered their heads in shame. "I'm buying land here for a new clinic," Zayan announced. "A real clinic with real doctors, no more fake deaths." Everyone clapped, but Zayan wasn't done yet. "There's one more thing I must do. One last surprise." Samir didn't know it yet. But a gift was waiting for him at the hospital. The sun rose gently over the hospital. Birds sang outside the windows. For the first time in days, Samir slept peacefully beside his mother's bed. She was awake now. Her hands were weak, her voice soft, but her eyes were open. She gently ran her fingers through Samir's hair as he slept on her arm. A nurse entered, quietly. "There's someone here to see you," she whispered. Samir sat up quickly as Mr. Zayan stepped in with a warm smile and a small box in his hand. "How is the bravest boy I know?" Zayan asked. Samir smiled shyly. "She's awake, sir. You saved her." Zayan walked to the bed. "No, Samir. You saved her. I only believed you." Samir's mother looked at Zayan. Her voice shook. "Thank you, sir. I thought I would never see my son again." Zayan's eyes softened. No mother should be buried alive, and no child should beg alone. He placed the box on the bed. Samir opened it slowly. His eyes widened. Inside were two things: a new house key, a school, admission letter for a private academy. Samir looked up in shock. "Sir, what is this?" Zayan chuckled gently. "That's your new home, not far from the hospital. And this letter, it's your ticket to a better future." Samir's mother burst into tears. "We don't deserve all this." Zayan shook his head. "You deserve everything. What happened to you was wrong, but now it ends." He reached into his coat and pulled out one more paper. "This," he said, "is your land. Your husband bought it long ago. That greedy doctor tried to steal it, but I made sure it's returned to your name." Samir's eyes filled with tears. "You're like an angel." Zayan knelt beside him. "No, Samir. Your love saved your mother. You were her voice when no one listened. That's real strength." Samir hugged him tightly. The nurse standing by the door wiped her tears quietly. From the hallway, other patients and staff peeked in, smiling. The story of the boy who cried at the grave had spread through the hospital, and now it had turned into something else: hope. Zayan stood up. "Pack your things. You're coming home." As they left the room, Zayan looked down at Samir. "One more surprise. I have a car waiting outside. Ever been in a limousine?" Samir's mouth dropped open. "No," Zayan laughed. Then, "Today's a big first." The car rolled into the poor village. Quiet, dusty streets now filled with whispers and curious eyes. People peeked from windows. Some dropped their tools. Children stopped playing, because they saw something they never expected: a black limousine, and from it stepped a well-dressed man, Mr. Zayan, followed by a small boy in clean clothes, holding his mother's hand. Yes, it was Samir, the same boy who had once cried beside a grave, who had shouted that his mother was still alive. Now he stood tall, strong, calm. Behind him, nurses gently helped his mother walk. She smiled weakly at the crowd. The villagers were silent. Then the old tea seller whispered, "That's the boy who cried at his mother's grave." Another woman said, "But she's alive. He was right." One by one, people stepped forward, ashamed of what they had said. They had laughed. They had ignored him. An elder walked up to Samir and said softly, "We are sorry, son. We thought you were broken, but we were blind." Samir looked up with kind eyes. "I forgive you. I only wanted to save my mom." Mr. Zayan stepped forward. This boy didn't just save his mother. He showed the world what true love and courage looks like. He turned to the villagers. From today, this boy will live in a new home. He will go to school, and this village will have a free clinic built in his mother's name. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Every poor family will be treated, Zayan said, and no child will ever be left alone again. Samir looked around, seeing everyone, even those who once called him crazy, now with tears in their eyes. One small boy stepped forward and held Samir's hand. "You're a hero," he whispered. Samir smiled, but said softly, "No, I'm just a boy," who didn't give up. As the sun set behind the village, the air was filled with something new, hope, and from that day on, the grave that once held fear became a symbol of life. Samir's story spread far and wide, not because he was rich, not because he was strong, but because he believed when no one else did.